Episode 766. Just then, Xin Lu picked up the equipment. The moment it appeared in the party info, someone immediately let out an excited howl. This was the Raging Dragon Sword, a level 70 heavy blade, a viable choice for both berserkers and blade masters. The party happened to have both a berserker and a blade master. However, the blade master specialized in light swords, having invested all his sword mastery points into that path. Naturally, he wouldn't switch to a heavy sword. He had no choice but to bow out, swallowing his disappointment. That berserker let out a wild roar, finally claiming the Rage Dragon Sword under the envious gaze of the crowd. This berserker had ranked 4th in damage output, but now with his new weapon, his spirits lifted once more. He felt he had a fighting chance again. He conveniently forgot that Invincible Most Handsome had been trailing them by a full 2/3 of the data. In the time it took those two bosses to clear a few waves of minions, they hadn't just caught up, they'd pulled ahead. Clearly, that couldn't be the work of just one weapon. But when two fighters are evenly matched in skill, and one gains an edge in gear, the gap shows fast. After a few waves of mobs, this berserker quickly climbed to 3rd place on the DPS chart, and with a momentum that seemed ready to challenge the 2nd-ranked Wudi Zui Jun Lang for supremacy. The other damage dealers all looked a bit deflated. Just then, a player looting the dropped items shouted out, "Captain, get over here!"
Captain, get over here!
What's wrong?
Xin Lu hurried over at the sound. When he looked, a gleaming golden weapon hung beside the mob. He clicked to pick it up and froze. A blue weapon. Even a mob had dropped a blue weapon. From a drop rate standpoint, sure, a normal mob could drop good gear, but the odds were astronomically low. Otherwise, what would be the point of a boss? But now their team had struck gold. A blue-grade weapon dropped from a regular mob. And since they were still in the Ancient Dragon Abyss, the item naturally matched the dungeon's quality tier. The dagger was quickly handed off to the assassin who had discovered it, and another player began climbing the damage charts with renewed vigor. After a few waves of mobs, the two players with their new weapons had pulled noticeably ahead of the rest in damage output. But they also noticed that the gap between them and Invincible Most Handsome was still widening. That guy was gunning straight for the top spot, Kudo. But Kudo's gear was far superior. He had several purple weapons alone. With such an overwhelming equipment advantage, could his DPS really get blown out of the water? The output list had undergone a massive shift, but Crispy Bean remained blissfully unaware. As a tank, Kudo had a DPSer's heart, but with gear that outclassed everyone else, surpassing his current teammates was just a given in his eyes. So he only checked his massive lead before the first boss, silently sneered at Wudi's slack-off, and never looked at that list again. After the 3rd boss went down, while everyone was taking a breather, Crispbean got bored again and pulled up the damage list for a look. What he saw gave him a real shock. Unmatched Most Handsome, who had been dead last, was nowhere to be found. Kudo counted up one by one, only to find Wudi Zui Junlang sitting in 2nd place from the top, with his DPS trailing right behind hers and about to overtake her.
How is that possible?
Crispbean cried out. Even if he was a tank, his gear advantage should have let him outdamage most players here. To think someone was about to overtake him, Kudo could hardly believe it.
What's wrong?
Crispbean's sharp scream drew a crowd, but no one else said a word. Only Xin Lu came over to ask what was wrong.
Nothing much. Just killing time with some gossip.
What gossip?
Nothing. I must have seen wrong.
Crispbean scrambled to cover his tracks, his gaze shifting to Invincible Most Handsome as he began to scope out the gear the other player was wearing.
Could there be some overpowered piece of gear I missed?
Crispbean mulled it over, carefully examining Invincible Most Handsome's equipment piece by piece. Not even a single accessory was overlooked. But there was nothing, not a single piece. Crispbean already knew a thing or two about night gear, and the full set of plate armor on Invincible Most Handsome made it painfully obvious just how far along this character was in clearing the dungeon. Even the Guardian Axe he'd just claimed, Kudo couldn't be bothered to give it a second glance. This suit of plate armor held no hidden power whatsoever.
How is this possible? How is this possible?
Guido was puzzled, but didn't dare make a sound. He could only mutter to himself. That startled cry of his didn't really dampen the team's spirits. The third boss they'd just taken down had dropped a weapon of all things. Weapons? Without a doubt, they were the most prized equipment among all players. This dungeon run dropped 4 weapons from 3 bosses and 1 mob. That luck is red hot. Everyone was buzzing excitedly about their incredible luck, though there was one small regret. The 4th weapon was a ninja blade, and since no one in the party was a ninja, it was unusable. In the end, they decided to donate it to the guild in exchange for contribution points. The DPS players' morale swelled, and even Sin Lu felt the good vibes, a quiet joy settling in his chest. Only Chris Bean was utterly baffled. Left with no answers, he could only carry his confusion forward and continue on his way. After that, Chris Bean started checking the damage list constantly, keeping a close eye on Invincible Most Handsome's every move, and even adjusting his pulling technique, all in a bid to boost his own output. After those adjustments, it actually worked. Invincible Handsome remained stuck in second place, unable to overtake the first place player Crispy Bean. After clearing the final wave of mobs, they finally reached the deepest part of the ancient dragon abyss, where the dungeon's final boss, the ancient dragon Larton, awaited. According to the lore, Larton was a red dragon in life. But after becoming an ancient dragon, most of his attributes had changed, his dragon's might, for instance.
Everyone, report your spirit stat.
During the rest before the final boss, Xin Lu asked about everyone's spirit stat. As players of Heavenly Domain, they all understood the necessity of that question. Because every dragon, without exception, has a passive skill called Dragon's Might. If a player's mental fortitude doesn't reach a certain threshold, they'll be affected by the Dragon's Might. In official terms, the dragon's imposing presence would pressure the player, throwing their battle rhythm into chaos and making normal combat impossible. In such moments, a character's attributes are forcibly reduced based on the intensity of the dragon's might and their own mental fortitude. Larton was already an ancient dragon. As an undead creature that had lost some of its draconic abilities and traits, its dragon might remained, but it couldn't compare to that of true, living dragons. In front of Ralden, players could achieve complete immunity to his dragon might by stacking enough spirit attributes. The officials never released any data on this, but after 3 years of trial and error, the players had already figured it out. The players of Heavenly Domain weren't greenhorns. They'd naturally skimmed a dungeon guide or 2 before diving in. They knew the final boss was a dragon, so they'd naturally kept an eye out. Now that their mental stats were revealed, each one was high enough to resist Ralden's dragon fear. This is what they call standing on the shoulders of giants. Back during the clearing days, Ralden was once an unconquerable final boss, one that gave the players of that era a real headache,